In the village of Muna, there was a girl named Eo. She was a small, curious child with wide eyes and a big heart. The village was old, surrounded by tall mountains and thick forests. Muna had a special way of dealing with its dead. The villagers didn't bury their loved ones deep in the ground, they only placed them just under the earth so the soul keeper could find their souls. Eo's father had once helped the soul keeper, but he had died many years ago, leaving her and her mother alone. No one really talked about what he did, and Eo had always wondered about it. One cold, misty evening, Eo sat near the fire in their small hut, listening to her mother tell her stories of the past. Her mother was pale and tired these days, coughing more and more often. Eo felt her heart ache, wishing she could do something to make her mother well again. That night, after her mother fell asleep, Eo lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling. She remembered how her father used to tell her strange stories about spirits. But he had always warned her, never look for the soul keeper, Eo. Some secrets are too dangerous. Those words echoed in her mind, making her shiver. One night, Eo heard soft whispers outside her window. She crept to the small opening and peeked out. Shadows moved near the graves, where the villagers buried their loved ones. She rubbed her eyes, thinking it was her imagination, but the shadows stayed. They were not people, nor animals, just dark, smoky shapes gliding through the night air. Eo felt a chill but couldn't look away. She wanted to know more. She had heard stories that the soul keeper was the one who made sure souls stayed in peace. She thought of her father, wishing he were still here to explain. That night, as she lay back down, she made a decision. She would try to find out what happened to the souls in Muna. The next day, Eo felt tired, but her curiosity burned inside her. After her chores, she walked through the village, asking the elders about her father. Most of them shook their heads or looked away, as if afraid to speak. Finally, an old woman named Busy, who was nearly blind but wise, took Eo aside and whispered, "Your father was special, Eo. He helped the soul keeper by talking to the dead, making sure they rested. But sometimes, souls wander. Some don't want to stay buried." Eo shivered at the thought. She didn't understand what busy meant, but she wanted to know more. That night, Eo waited until her mother was asleep, then slipped out of the hut. She walked carefully to the burial ground, her heart thudding in her chest. The night was quiet, and the moon cast an eerie glow over the graves. As she stood there, unsure of what to do, she heard a faint sound, a low hum, like someone singing far away. She followed the sound to a small grave marked with a stone. She knew this was her father's resting place. Eo knelt by her father's grave and closed her eyes, whispering, "Please, if you can hear me, help me understand." She waited, but only silence surrounded her. Suddenly, a cold wind brushed against her cheek, and she opened her eyes. Standing before her was a shadowy figure, tall and dark, with eyes that glowed softly. Eo froze in fear, realizing this could be the soul keeper. The figure spoke in a voice that was soft but powerful. "Why do you disturb the resting place of souls, child?" Eo swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "I want to understand. My father, he walked with you, didn't he?" The soul keeper nodded slowly. "He did. He helped guide the souls to peace. But when souls are restless, they try to escape. And sometimes, it is dangerous." Eo felt a tear slide down her cheek. "My mother is sick. I don't want to lose her, too." The soul keeper looked at her with a strange expression, almost sad. "The balance between life and death is delicate, child. Your father understood this. He gave much to keep it safe." Eo clenched her fist, determined. "Then teach me. Let me help." The soul keeper watched her for a long moment before finally nodding.